Good morning, my dear students. So, in our last class, we have started one of our prose lessons of first year, The Happy People, by Inge, by William Ralph Inge, Happy People, where we have traveled through the 7 deadly sins in our yesterday's class session, and now today, in continuation of those 7 deadly sins, let us continue our lesson in order to complete it in today's session. So we have stopped Sermon on the Mount goes for towards ranking worry as one of the deadly sins. So Spinoza is a Dutch philosopher. Okay, he was a Dutch philosopher. His full name is Dutch Baruch Spinoza, 1632 and 1677, and he greatly influenced the Western thought. So Spinoza was a Dutch philosopher, right? 1632-77. Forget it. So now, what Spinoza agrees, sadness or tristitia is never justifiable, he says. The medieval monks who must have known the moral dangers of boredom place it among the 7 deadly sins, one which they call acedia. They describe it as a compound of dejection. Compound means amalgamation. Okay? Synthesis of dejection. Sloth and irritability. These are the compound of dejection. Okay? Sloth and irritability. Right? Sloth I have given you, right, about sloth. When I explained you sloth, a person who cannot even speak a single word. This is one of the 7 deadly sins, right, which makes a man feel that no good is worth doing. We have forgotten the word, and when we are attacked by the thing, we blame our nerves or our livers, but perhaps the monks were right. So now Spinoza is saying that whatever the medieval monks they used to follow their lifestyle is right. So in continuation, what the writer wants to say is, religion is a great source. Religion is a great source. Now let us go for this slide number 13. Okay, the quote of our beloved ex-president Dr. Abdul Kalam Azad: try to understand people before trusting them, because we are living in such a world where artificial lemon flavor is used for welcome drink and real lemon is used in fingerball. So look at the quote, very interesting. Let's continue. Now, what William Ralph Inge is saying in continuation, religion is a great source of happiness because it gives us the right standard of values and enables us to regard our troubles as a light affliction which is but for a moment. So now, what Inge is saying, religion is the most reliable source from where we can get our standard values related to moral and ethical values. So right values will be provided by religion. Thus religion is a great source of happiness because it aggrandizes, it enables us to regard our troubles. So troubles are not going to fix permanently. So whatever the troubles that we are getting in our life are no longer going to stay forever. So they will stay temporal. They will go at any cost. Affliction means something that causes suffering. So all sufferings will not stay permanently. Right? So this kind of a philosophy can be found in religious. But here, some problem with religion. What is that? Let us have a check. But the religious temperament is susceptible to more grievous fits of misery than any other. This is the problem with religion. Because this religious temperament is susceptible. Susceptible means easily influenced or easily affected. So religion, I hope you people are witnessing what's going around in the world in front of us because of religion. So religion has a quality that is very susceptible to more grievous fits of misery than any other. So too much relying on religion is sometimes would be dangerous. So in a nutshell, religion is a great source for happiness, but over religiousness will cause the most grievous things. This is what he says. We hear sometimes of the gaiety which prevails. Yeah, gaiety means being cheerful, happy. We hear sometimes of the gaiety which prevails in a monastery or nunnery. I confess that this vapid spiritual hilarity rather irritates me. So now, furthermore, what William Ralph Inge wants to say as the monastery or nunnery, sometimes gets happiness according to some other sources. But what William Ralph Inge is saying, I confess that this vapid means dull, spiritual hilarity rather irritates me. This kind of nunnery or monastery, it irritates me according to Ralph William Inge. Running away from life ought not to make people happy. So now those who are running away from the reality, they are quitters. They will never become a winners. They will never be a winners. So running away from reality is not the solution or not the cause for happiness. Unworldliness based on knowledge of the world is the finest thing on earth, but unworldliness based on ignorance of the world is less admirable. So this line, reminds us one of the famous lines of William Wordsworth, ignorance is the bliss. So ignorance will be the cause of bliss or happiness, but not all time. Right? Very different is the happiness enjoyed by such a saint as Hindu mystic and Christian missionary Sadhu Sundar Singh, whose life has just been written by Canon Streeter. It is one of the most fascinating books that I have read for a long time. So here he is taking the example of Sadhu Sundar Singh, who was a saint who belongs to a Christian missionary, and his book which was written by Canon Streeter. This is one of the best books or most fascinating books that William Ralph Inge had read. The sadhu has undergone every kind of persecution. Okay, the sadhu has undergone every kind of persecution. Persecution means to treat cruelly and cause to suffer, especially for religious purpose. Harassment, it's a kind of harassment, but cruel harassment. So Sadhu Sundar Singh has undergone every kind of what you call harassment, cruel harassment, including 2 days at the bottom of a well in Tibet where he found himself among the decaying corpses of former victims. So, Sundar Singh was thrown into the well, particular in Tibet, where he found himself lot of cadavers, dead bodies, were lying over there of former victims who had been killed by the fanatics. He lives the life of a Saint Francis of Assisi and is as happy as the most Christ-like of saints. Though Sadhu Sundar Singh faced so many harassments, even then he achieved he was enlightened like Saint Francis of Assisi, and also he was as happy as Jesus Christ. An English parlour maid announced him to her mistress as follows: There is someone come to see you, madam. I cannot make nothing of his name. So one example has been given. A parlour maid, English parlour maid, announces to his madam that someone wanted to meet you, madam. I do not know his name, but look at the line, but he looks as if he might be Jesus Christ. So that kind of brightness, that kind of shining, that kind of enlightenment Sadhu Sundar Singh had achieved. I urge my readers to read the Sadhu. I will make them feel better, or worse, which is much the same thing in this connection. Now, so in this regard, Sadhu Ralph Inge is recommending readers to read the Sadhu's book, which was written by Canon Streeter. To descend from these heights, the busy are happier than the ideal. So now, according to some other sources, what Inge is saying, so busy people are happier than ideal people. And the man who has found his work much happier than the man who has not found it. Okay? The man who has found his work much happier than the man who has not found it. So this line once again, reminds us one of the second year lessons, Wrong Man in Workers' Paradise by, Rabindranath Tagore. So here, according to Ralph Inge, busy people are happier than the ideal, and the man or a woman who has found his work much happier than the man who has not found. So that means busy people also happier. Recognition by others is essential to all, but those of the strongest and proudest virtue. So in this world, all of us, we want recognition. Recognition by the society, recognition by your friends, recognition by your, world. But what kind of recognition it should be recommended by Ralph Inge is, it should be strongest and proudest virtue. So virtue, once again, we can get virtue from religion. Okay. So because it enables us, it aggrandizes, how to live. It recommends us, it suggests us, to follow the moral, ethical values at any cost, under any circumstances. Then I think I should put it third among the gifts which I should ask from the fairy godmother above mentioned. I should wish first for wisdom like King Solomon. If God appears in front of me, if Mother Goddess comes to me and asks me what is my wish, that means William Ralph Inge. What William Ralph Inge is asking her, requesting her to have a good wisdom like King Solomon. King Solomon is a king in the Old Testament, right? So he is known to his wiseness. He is known to his wisdom. So first he asks, William Ralph Inge asked to have a good wisdom. And by wisdom I mean a just estimate of the relative values of things. So once you possess wisdom, you can estimate the relative values which are connected with this. All right. And what is his second wish? My second wish would be domestic happiness. So until you have domestic happiness, you will not be able to feel happy in this world. And this is domestic happiness. Third wish, second wish. And the third wish is my third wish for the approval of my fellows. So here approval means recognition by my fellows. So these are the three wishes that William Ralph Inge wants to get if Mother Goddess appears before him and asks him what are the wishes that he wants to have. Right. And then, so now come to the next paragraph, that is Napoleon. So Napoleon example has given. See, look at the photograph, look at the slide of page number 17, Sadhu. So this is what, monk or nunnery, not exactly recommended by William Ralph Inge. What he says running away from reality is not a solution for happiness or not a reason for happiness. Okay, anyhow, now look at the Napoleon Bonaparte, who was a famous French military and political leader, 1769 and 1821. So this man was a great military man and as well as a political leader. So what exactly, from which sources that Napoleon Bonaparte will get happiness? So what is that? Napoleon is said to have recommended a hard heart and a good digestion as be chief conditions of happiness. So according to Napoleon Bonaparte, having a hard heart, so stone-like heart, so without any sentiments, without any emotions, without any compassions, without love, mercy, that kind of a stone-like heart, can give us happiness according to Napoleon. And the second one is good digestion system. Good digestion system. These are the two elements that gives the eternal happiness to every man according to Napoleon Bonaparte. But now what William Ralph Inge says regarding this one, let us check it. What William Ralph Inge says, I have nothing to say again is the second. Okay, I have nothing to say again is the second, but a life without affection and sympathy could give only a very negative kind of happiness. So what he is saying, having a good digestion system is okay. It may give happiness, but I cannot agree, I disagree that a man or a woman, if he or she possess a stone-like heart, that is not the source of happiness. Right? So, hard heart and a good digestion as the chief conditions of happiness. So, William Ralph Inge has no objection for the second one, that is having good digestion system, but he is objecting for the first heart, that is hard heart, like stone heart like. He is not recommending it. Can we say the same periods of history? Some periods of history were happier than the other. Nobody can doubt that we have fallen upon evil times, and it seems to be true that we take public affairs much more tragically than they did in the 18th century. Dr. Johnson lived through the American War, the greatest misfortune that has ever happened to the British Empire, but this is how he delivers himself about public calamities. So, according to this one, what William Ralph Inge is trying to say is, we should not think much about the happenings around us, as the happening in their own way, we should be happy for that. Okay. So look at the what you call the conversation between two people, Boswell and Johnson. So generally, England people were not sentimental people. So they were very much interested in war. So at that time, what happened? Look at the conversation between two people, which continues in the next paragraph. If I were in Parliament, I should be vexed if things went wrong. This is what Boswell saying, and Johnson is saying that's can't, sir. C-A-N-T, can't. You cannot find any kind of apostrophe comma over there. It is not cannot. It is can't. Can't means insincere talk. That can't, sir, public affairs vexed no man. Have they not vexed you a little, sir? Have you not been vexed by all the turbulence of this reign? I have never slept an hour less, not ate at ounce less meat. So now, English people are not philosophical people. See here in the next line. Look at this hard hat and good digestion slide also I have collected for your knowledge and comfort. We are not so philosophical. So here English people are not philosophical. They are very much interested in wars. Look at the continuation. There must be many thousands of Englishmen who, like myself, were awake all night after the first ominous bulletin about Jutland, which seemed to hint a great naval disaster. This is something, Denmark 1916's war. Okay. I tried to remember another scene from English history. We are told that in the days of the Commonwealth, Bulstrode, Whitelock, ambassador to the Hague, was tossing about through the night in anxiety about the condition of his country. So now here, these fellows are not worrying about other people who are suffering by the war, but they are worrying about their own country and their own country people. So they are least bothered about other people. This seems they have a stone heart like. They have no sympathy, no compassion toward others. They are showing complete parochialism on their own country. Right. And one interesting thing that took place while this situation was going on. So ambassador to the Hague was tossing about through the night in anxiety about the condition of his country. An old servant lying in the same room addressed him, "Sir, may I ask you a question?" So he was an old servant who raised a question to these two great men. "Sir, did God govern the world well before you came into it?" So simply, this is a very clever question that has by old servant. What he is saying, "Sir, God governed this world well before you came into it. So before you also, before your forefathers also, God was there, and He is the supreme power. He is ruling well this world, undoubtedly. And will He rule the world well when you have gone out of it?" Sir, it is not you, it is not your country that ruling this world, okay, who wants to rule this world. It is the supreme power, it is the Almighty who has been ruling this world before and after our demise also. So you need not worry about it. This is what he says. But here what happens, ironically, can you not trust him to rule the world while you are in it? The tired ambassador turned on his side and fell asleep. So he didn't hear the servant's answer. He fell asleep. So here, once again, according to William Ralph Inch, the sources of happiness are Please, those who are not having textbooks, and even those who are having textbooks, please write down uh, these short notes. So the sources of happiness according to William Ralph Inch are, so he identifies some various experiences. Number one, religion is a great source of happiness that identified according to various experiences. Religion is a great source of happiness that gives right standard of values, and it helps regard troubles as temporary state of pain. So this is one of the sources. What it recommends? It recommends the right standard of values, and it helps us also in troubles as a temporary state of pain. Now, second one, struggle for success is also a source of happiness. Struggle for success is also one of the sources of happiness for those who consider life as a challenging game. Who consider life as a challenging game. So, struggle for success is also one of the sources of happiness for those who consider as life as a challenging game. And the third one, championship in the form of family member or friends leads to happiness. Sorry, companionship. Companionship in the form of family member or friends leads to happiness also. This is also one of the sources. And the next one, marriage is a relationship between two people that brings about happiness. So marriage is also one of the sources of happiness, as we have discussed, unless the pair is well matched. But it is also a source of happiness. Number 5, not having any causes to lead a life or not having any responsibility towards life and leading a carefree life is also identified as a source of happiness. So carefree life also, leading a carefree life also one of the sources of happiness. Often young age people fall under this category. This totally belongs to you, my dear, because you always wants to lead a carefree life. Now, and these are the sources, 5 sources of happiness. And now let us have who are the happy people in fact, according to the Ralph Inch. So the author identified following kinds of people to be happy. Who are they? Number 1, a person struggling for his success is a happy man or a happy woman. A person who is struggling for his success is a happy man or a happy woman. And second one is young people or happier people. Third one, married people or happy people. Fourth one, person who doesn't have a cause to live. These kind of persons also very happy. That means a person who doesn't have a cause to live, without any cause. And the fifth one is people living in monasteries or nunnery. So those who are monks, those who are nuns, they also happy people. And saints also happy people. And busy people also always happy people. So here the happy people by William Ralph Inch ends, my dear. So we meet in our next class. So in this way, in part 1 we have discussed half of the lesson, and in part 2 we have discussed the climax or the end of this lesson, and we'll meet once again in our next class. Have a look on philosophical. Does free will exist, or is every action predetermined? This is by Lord Buddha, famous quote. See you in the next class. Till then, take care. Bye bye. ఇప్పుడేం కాదులే. అంతేనా?